Have you ever witnessed a lone lion surrounded by a pack of hyenas? The lion does not seek conflict, but the hyenas do. They circle, they mock, they wait. Not because the lion is weak, but because they fear what they cannot control. Hyenas do not attack what they do not fear. They only attack what they know is greater than them. They gather in numbers, using deceit, persistence, and cowardice, hoping to wear the lion down. They believe that if they can keep it isolated, exhausted, and questioning its own strength, they can break it. But what they fail to understand is this: no matter how long the lion is surrounded, no matter how many teeth snap at its heels, no matter how much it is outnumbered, a lion is still a lion. And the moment it remembers what it is, the hunt is over. The hyenas scatter, the laughter turns to silence, and fear shifts from the hunted to the hunters. And you, chosen one, you are that lion. They have whispered about you in the shadows. They have conspired against you behind closed doors. They have lied, manipulated, and convinced others to stand against you, not because you were weak, but because they saw something in you, before you even saw it in yourself. They recognized your power before you did, and that terrified them. So they tried to break you before you could rise. They placed obstacles in your path. They turned friends into enemies. They poisoned your mind with doubt, making you question your worth, your purpose, your very existence. They wanted you to feel small, powerless, alone. They wanted you to believe that the hardships you faced were proof of your insignificance, when in reality, those struggles were the greatest confirmation of who you truly are. Tell me, have you ever wondered why life has tested you so relentlessly? Why betrayal has come from those you loved the most? Why, no matter how much you give, how much you fight, the world seems to push back harder? That is not an accident. When the universe marks you, the weak will fear you. When it chooses you, the guilty will tremble. And when it rises for you, the world will shake. They thought they were fighting you, but they never realized the truth. They weren't just fighting a person. They were fighting the force that chose you. They were fighting destiny itself. And tell me, when has anyone ever won against the universe? Look at your life. The betrayals, the struggles, the moments where you were left alone in the storm. Do you really think that was a coincidence? Do you think your suffering was random? That all of it happened for no reason? You suffered because you were strong enough to carry what others could not. They knew you had something rare, an unshakable force within you that could not be copied, stolen, or controlled. They saw it before you did, and that is why they moved against you before you could even rise. They tried to keep you trapped in cycles of pain, doubt, and exhaustion, hoping you would never have the time or the clarity to see the truth. But here you are, still standing. You survived what was meant to destroy you. And now, the same hands that inflicted pain, the same voices that whispered against you, the same people who stood in silence while you suffered, they will tremble when they see you rise. Because now, everything they tried to bury is coming back to the surface. They watched you suffer. They turned away when they should have spoken up. They let the weight of betrayal crush you while they stood in silence. But silence does not erase guilt. It does not cleanse cowardice. And it does not save them from what's coming. Because the universe never forgets. Do you feel it, chosen one? Do you feel the shift in the air? The weight lifting from your shoulders? The fire inside you refusing to be put out? That is not just a feeling. That is your awakening. You are stepping into the power they swore you would never claim. You are breaking free from the chains they spent years convincing you were unbreakable. You are remembering who you were before the world told you who you should be. And now, the question is no longer whether you will rise. The question is, are you ready? Are you ready to see the truth for what it is? Are you ready to understand why they feared you? Why they stayed silent? Why their betrayal was never a loss, but a revelation? Because if you are, then stay. This message is for you. But before we go deeper, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Every interaction spreads this truth to more of the chosen. And trust me, they don't want that. They want you isolated. They want you doubting. They want this message silenced. But when you engage, when you stand with your people, you break the chains they tried to place on this truth. Drop 77 in the comments if you feel this shift stirring in your soul. Because now, the moment has come. No more hesitation, no more doubt, no more playing small. The war is already here, and the only thing they fear more than a chosen one is a chosen one who finally knows who they are. You know, they thought they could rewrite fate. They thought they could manipulate destiny itself, twisting the narrative, silencing the truth, and burying their wrongdoings beneath layers of deception. They moved in secrecy, believing their shadows would never betray them. They relied on silence, thinking it would shield them from accountability. But what they failed to understand is this: the universe does not forget. And justice never sleeps. They believed their whispers could erase reality, that if enough people refused to speak, then what was done to you would simply cease to exist. They thought if they turned away, if they acted as if nothing had happened, then the betrayal, the injustice, the wounds they inflicted would somehow vanish into nothingness. But truth is not so easily erased. Truth is eternal, and no matter how deep they tried to bury it, it was always destined to rise. And now, the shift has begun. The same universe they mocked is now moving against them. The same force they challenged is shifting, not in their favor, but against them. They thought they were playing a game of control, a game of deception, a game where they held all the power. But tell me, when has anyone ever won against the laws of the universe? When has manipulation ever triumphed over justice? Their actions were not forgotten. Every moment they stood in silence, every time they turned their backs while you suffered, every betrayal they justified with cowardly reasoning. It has all been recorded, and the weight of it will return to them in full. The same lies they used to protect themselves will now expose them. The same silence they relied upon will now be deafening. The same fire they thought would consume you is now turning in their direction. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap. Galatians 6:7. And now they reap what they have sown. They set traps hoping you would fall. They whispered your name in slander, hoping to destroy your reputation. They turned allies into enemies, hoping to isolate you. They exhausted every effort to break your spirit, believing that if they just applied enough pressure, you would surrender. But what they failed to realize is that you were never meant to break. They tried to drown you, but you became the storm. Every betrayal, every moment of suffering, every night spent wondering if you would ever rise again, none of it was wasted. The very trials they set before you became the fire that refined you. The very obstacles they placed in your way became the stepping stones to your elevation. Every wound they inflicted only made you stronger. Every lie they told only clarified your purpose. And every effort to destroy you only built the foundation for your rise. They thought they were controlling your fate, but all they were doing was forging your resilience. What was meant to weaken you has only made you unshakable. What was intended to silence you has only amplified your voice. What they thought would end you was, in reality, the very thing that made you unstoppable. Have you noticed the shift? The pressure that once held you down is no longer there. The walls that once blocked your path are now crumbling. The very things they swore would be your downfall are now aligning in your favor. Everything they thought would stop you is now working for you. The stone the builders rejected has become the cornerstone. Psalm 118, verse 22. You were never their victim. You were never their pawn. You were always destined to rise, and now the world is about to witness it. They abandoned you when you needed them most. They stood by while you suffered, too afraid to intervene, too consumed by their own fear to stand for what was right. Their silence was their escape. But what they failed to realize is this: their absence was never your loss. It was divine protection. Not everyone was meant to walk this journey with you. Not everyone was worthy of witnessing your rise. And sometimes, the only way for the universe to clear your path is to remove those who were never meant to be there in the first place. You mistook their departure for rejection, but it was actually redirection. You thought you were being abandoned, but you were actually being prepared. Because let me tell you something, you cannot carry dead weight into your destiny. Those who left were never meant to go where you are going. Those who betrayed you were never part of the next chapter of your life. Do you really think their exit was a coincidence? Look back at your life. Look at who left. Look at who turned against you. Look at who stayed silent while you struggled. Do you truly believe their departure was random? Or could it be that God Himself was removing them before they had the chance to sabotage your future? You meant evil against me, but God meant it for good. Genesis 50:20. Every exit was strategic. Every betrayal was calculated. Every loss was necessary, because if they had stayed, they would have drained you, hindered you, and held you back from becoming everything you were destined to be. They thought their silence would break you. They thought their absence would destroy you. They thought their rejection would convince you that you were unworthy. But now, they must watch as you rise without them. And the truth is, that terrifies them, because now you see them for who they really are. Now, you understand that their betrayal was never your failure, it was your liberation. You were never meant to seek their validation. You were never meant to depend on their approval. And now that you know that, they have lost all power over you. So let them whisper, let them watch, let them pretend they don't see the shift happening right in front of their eyes. It won't change a thing, because you are no longer bound by their silence. You are no longer held back by their betrayal. You are free. And this is just the beginning. They played with fire, believing they could manipulate fate. But fate cannot be rewritten. They tried to drown you, but they only made you stronger. They thought their silence would erase you, but all it did was clear your path. And now, they must watch as the chosen rise. If you feel this shift in your spirit, if you know that this message is speaking directly to you, declare it in the comments. Write, I was never forgotten. I was always chosen. Because this is your moment, and this time, nothing can stop you. They thought they could stop you. They thought they had the power to break you. They believed that their silence, their betrayal, their whispered lies would be enough to keep you down. But what they failed to understand is this: you were never meant to be contained. You were never meant to stay in the shadows. You were never meant to live under the weight of their expectations, their manipulations, their carefully crafted illusions. They built walls, but those walls did not enclose you. They elevated you. They placed obstacles, but those obstacles did not stop you. They strengthened you. They tried to dim your light, but all they did was make it shine brighter. Because the chosen do not fall. The chosen do not surrender. The chosen do not fade into the background simply because others are too blind to see their worth. They thought their rejection would define you. They thought their betrayal would cripple you. They assumed that if they pushed hard enough, if they ignored you long enough, if they spread enough doubt and fear, you would give up. But they never realized the truth. You were never fighting them. You were never at war with their opinions, their silence, their cowardice. You were fighting for yourself. You were battling to remember who you are, to step fully into the power that was always within you. And now, you have won. At first, it felt like a loss. It felt like loneliness, like abandonment, like every door had been shut in your face. You wondered if maybe they were right, if maybe you were too much, too different, too intense, too bold, too much of something that they simply could not accept. But do you see it now? That was never the case. It was never about you being too much. It was about them being too little, too afraid, too insecure, too unwilling to face the truth that your presence forced them to see. You see, they never hated you for what you did to them. They hated you for what you made them see in themselves. Your strength reminded them of their weakness. Your resilience highlighted their fragility. Your truth exposed their lies. And so, they tried to silence you. They tried to push you out. They tried to convince you that you did not belong. But what they did not understand is that you do not need permission to exist. You do not need validation to be worthy. You do not need their approval to step into your destiny. And now, they must watch. They must witness the rise of the very person they tried to bury. They must come to terms with the undeniable truth. You were never meant to fail. Every time they thought they had won, the universe was setting the stage for your return. Every moment they spent plotting against you, they were unknowingly setting themselves up for their own downfall. Because what they sent out has returned to them. The very traps they laid for you have ensnared them. The very lies they spread about you have become the weight of their own shame. The very weapons they formed against you have turned against them. The universe does not forget. It does not let injustice go unpaid. It does not allow the chosen to be silenced. And so, here you stand, still rising, still standing, still moving forward, stronger than ever before. And they, the ones who thought they could control your fate, are left in disbelief. Because you were never meant to be ordinary. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to play small to make others comfortable. And now, you finally see it. Now you finally understand why the battle was so intense, why the trials were so relentless, why the betrayals cut so deep. It was never about them. It was always about you, about your awakening, about your transformation, about the realization that no one, not the doubters, not the betrayers, not the liars, not the cowards, has ever had the power to define you. So let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them pretend they never doubted you. It changes nothing. Their silence was never your downfall. Their betrayal was never your end. It was only the beginning. The very things they thought would break you have built you. The very storms they sent to drown you have carried you to greater heights. The very rejection they believed would crush you has become the force that drives you forward. You are not who you were. You have shed the skin of who they thought you were. You have outgrown their expectations, their judgments, their limitations. You have stepped into a power they cannot comprehend, a destiny they cannot touch, a strength they cannot diminish. And that terrifies them, because they realize now what they refused to accept before. You were never under their control. Do you feel it, chosen one? The shift in the air? The weight lifting off your shoulders? The quiet but undeniable pull of destiny calling you forward? This is your moment. This is your turning point. No more waiting. No more hesitating. No more questioning whether you deserve to be here. You do. Not because they said so, not because they finally see your worth, but because you have always been worthy. The only difference now is that you finally know it. So now, the only question left is, are you ready? Are you ready to walk in the fullness of who you were meant to be? Are you ready to step forward without fear, without doubt, without the weight of the past holding you back? Because the past is done. The betrayals, the disappointment, the pain, they no longer define you. You are no longer the person they tried to break. You are no longer the one waiting for an apology that will never come. You are no longer the one looking back. You are moving forward, stronger, wiser, unstoppable, and they know it. So declare it now. Speak it into existence. Write it, feel it, embody it. I was never broken. I was always rising. Because this is not the end of your story. It is only the beginning, and this time, nothing will stand in your way. They thought they could manipulate reality, twisting truth into something convenient for their narrative. They wove lies so intricately, they believed even the universe would not be able to unravel them. But here's what they failed to understand. Truth is not something that can be buried forever. It is not something that can be controlled by human hands. No matter how carefully they constructed their deception, no matter how much effort they put into covering their tracks, truth always finds its way to the surface. For so long, they operated in secrecy, whispering behind closed doors, orchestrating plans against you with the belief that no one would ever see through them. They moved in silence, thinking that deception would keep them safe, that manipulating the perceptions of others would give them control over the narrative. They fabricated stories, twisted facts, and spread falsehoods with such confidence that they started to believe their own lies. But what they did not count on was this: masks were never meant to stay on forever. The longer they wore them, the more cracks began to appear, and now those masks have shattered completely. They thought they could outsmart fate, but they were only deceiving themselves. Because while they were busy plotting, the universe was watching. Every whispered lie, every secret betrayal, every calculated move they made to bring you down was being recorded by forces greater than them. And now, the exposure they feared most has come upon them like an unstoppable flood. They are drowning, not in the lies they told about you, but in the ones they told themselves. They believed they were untouchable, but now they see they were merely puppets in a game much larger than they could comprehend. Every action, every manipulation, every falsehood they spread is now turning back on them. The darkness they used to conceal their deeds is now consuming them whole. And you? You no longer have to fight to prove your innocence. You no longer have to waste your energy explaining yourself. Because the truth is speaking for you. It is rising from the ashes of their deception, shining a light so bright that even they can no longer deny it. They may have convinced the world for a time, but they could never deceive the universe. Now, the weight of their own actions is coming down on them. The very foundation they built on deceit is crumbling beneath their feet. The alliances they once relied upon are turning against them. Their own words are being used as evidence of their corruption. The doors they once walked through with confidence are now closing in their faces, and the people they manipulated are starting to see through the illusion. There is a reckoning unfolding before your very eyes. The people who once stood against you, who believed they had the upper hand, are now realizing they were never in control. They thought their numbers would protect them. They thought their strategies would be enough to ensure their success. But they underestimated one thing: you were never alone. You see, the universe was never neutral. It was never standing on the sidelines, waiting to see how things would unfold. It was always working, always watching, always aligning things in your favor. The trials you faced were not signs of your downfall. They were signs of your elevation. The betrayals you endured were not a punishment. They were a purification. Every person who stood against you was unknowingly paving the way for your rise. And now, the same people who once moved in confidence are scrambling. They are seeing their plans unravel, their influence fade, their power slip through their fingers. Because nothing built on deception can stand forever. Nothing rooted in darkness can survive when the light comes. Their judgment has arrived, not because you wished for it, not because you sought revenge, but because it was inevitable. They set their own trap, and now they are caught in it. The weight of their lies has become too heavy for them to carry. The people they once controlled no longer listen. The ones they deceived have started to awaken. And now, the very system they thought would protect them is turning against them. So you do not have to seek revenge. You do not have to concern yourself with how justice will be served, because justice is already at work. What was done in darkness is now being exposed in the light. What was stolen is now being returned. What was meant to destroy you is now working in your favor. And those who thought they could escape the consequences of their actions are now being forced to face them. But here is the most important part. Your victory is not in their downfall. It is in your freedom. It is in your ability to release the pain, to let go of the resentment, to walk away without carrying the weight of what they did. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for you. It is the final act of defiance against everything they tried to do to you. Because when you let go, you break the last chain they had on you. Hate is a prison, and you were never meant to live in captivity. Resentment is a weight, and you were never meant to carry burdens that are not yours. Every time you hold on to anger, every time you replay what they did, you are allowing them to still have power over you. But the moment you decide to release it, you reclaim your energy. You reclaim your peace. You reclaim your life. They will have to deal with the consequences of their actions, but that is no longer your concern. The universe will handle them in the way they deserve. Your only task now is to move forward, to step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be, to rise higher than even you imagined possible. They thought their betrayal would break you, but all it did was set you free. They thought their silence would crush you, but all it did was amplify your voice. They thought they could dictate your future, but they never had that power to begin with. So now, let them watch. Let them see what happens when the chosen refuse to be destroyed. Let them bear witness to the truth they tried so hard to suppress. Because you were never the one who needed to be afraid. They were. And now, they know it. Their masks have fallen. Their deception is over. And you are still standing. You have always been destined to rise. And nothing they did was ever enough to change that. You are not a victim of their schemes. You are the victor over them. And now you walk forward, untouchable, unstoppable, unshaken. Justice never fails. No matter how much deception has been used to distort the past, no matter how long injustice has been ignored, and no matter how many people stood silent while you suffered, the balance of the universe always tilts toward correction. What was stolen must be returned. What was broken must be restored. The ones who orchestrated your downfall believed they had buried you under lies, betrayals, and manipulation. They thought they had the power to define your fate, that their silence would erase the truth, and that their actions would go unanswered. But what they never realized was that the universe had been keeping records all along, waiting for the right moment to set things right. Everything you endured was never in vain. Every tear you shed, every sleepless night, every moment of pain, it was all counted. The universe has been watching, and now the time for restoration has arrived. This is not a moment of revenge. This is a moment of divine alignment. The same people who once dismissed your worth, who worked tirelessly to block your path, who convinced themselves that they had won, now they will witness what they feared most. They will see you reclaim everything they thought they had taken from you, and they will understand that their efforts were futile. Nothing truly meant for you can ever be stolen. What is yours by divine decree will always return, and when it does, it will be multiplied. What once seemed lost was never truly gone. It was simply repositioned, waiting for the right moment to come back into your life in an even greater form. And now, that moment is here. You once believed that you lost something precious, an opportunity, a relationship, a sense of self, or a future that once seemed so certain. You mourned the things that slipped away, the doors that were slammed shut, and the paths that suddenly disappeared before you could take them. But the truth is, nothing was ever lost. Everything that was taken, everything that was denied, was simply being refined. It was never meant to be permanently removed from your life, only temporarily withheld until you became the person who could handle it in its fullest and most powerful form. They thought they had stripped you of everything, but in reality, they were only setting the stage for your greatest comeback. The job you lost, the promotion that passed you by, the business that failed. It wasn't because you weren't good enough. It was because you were being positioned for something greater, something that would align with the destiny carved out for you. The love that left you, the people who walked away, the relationships that crumbled, they didn't abandon you. They were removed from your life because they could not go where you were going. The universe was not punishing you. It was protecting you. And now, everything they thought they had taken from you is making its way back. But this time, it is returning with interest. What was once denied will come back stronger, more stable, and more valuable. Every rejection was simply a redirection to something far better than you had initially envisioned. You are no longer chasing after what you thought you lost. You are stepping into what has always been meant for you. So tell me, are you ready? Are you ready to receive everything that has been waiting for you? Are you ready to embrace the abundance that is returning to your life? Or are you still clinging to the belief that you are undeserving? That you are still the same person who was abandoned, overlooked, or mistreated? If you are still waiting for permission to rise, then understand this. There will never be a perfect time. The only time that exists is now. Too many people wait for the right moment to claim what is already theirs. They wait for more confidence, for more skills, for more external validation. They wait for a sign, a confirmation, a guarantee that things will work out exactly as they hope. But the truth is, the perfect time does not exist. There is no moment when everything will align in a way that feels completely safe and comfortable. The ones who rise, the ones who reclaim what was once taken from them, are not the ones who waited. They are the ones who decided. You already have everything you need within you. The strength, the wisdom, the power. It has been there all along. It is not something you must seek from outside sources. It is something that has been planted deep within you, waiting for you to acknowledge it, waiting for you to step into it. You do not need permission. You do not need anyone's approval to begin. The moment you decide to act, to move forward without hesitation, is the moment your restoration begins. The universe is aligning everything in your favor. The shift has already started, but it cannot force you to move. You must step into it. You must claim what is yours. The doors that were once closed are now open, but you must have the courage to walk through them. The opportunities that once seemed out of reach are now within your grasp, but you must have the boldness to seize them. The life that was always meant for you is unfolding, but you must say yes to it. And here is the most important thing to understand. You are no longer the person who was left behind. The ones who walked away from you thought they were leaving you broken, thought they were abandoning someone who could not survive without them. They thought they had the final say in your story. But they were wrong. They believed they were walking away from someone weak. They thought their departure would define you, that their rejection would destroy you. But what they failed to realize is that their absence was the very thing that transformed you. They expected you to collapse under the weight of their betrayal, but instead, you rose. You became stronger. You became wiser. You became unstoppable. You no longer seek validation from those who failed to see your worth. You no longer need approval from those who turned their backs on you. The version of you they knew, the one who questioned their own value, the one who tolerated mistreatment, the one who begged for acceptance, that version no longer exists. You have outgrown them. You have evolved beyond them. And now, they no longer have access to you. They will try to return. They will try to rewrite history. They will pretend they never doubted you, never betrayed you, never left you to suffer alone. But it no longer matters. You do not need them. You do not need their recognition, their apologies, their attempts at reconciliation. Because you have already won. You have already reclaimed your power. You have already stepped into the life they tried to keep from you. So do not look back. Do not waste another moment thinking about those who could not see your worth. Do not let their past mistakes dictate your future. You are free. You are untouchable. You are walking into the greatest season of your life, and nothing they do can stop it. Everything that was once taken from you is returning. Everything that was denied is coming back stronger. And you are no longer waiting. You are claiming what is yours. Now step forward, rise, and never look back. The time for hesitation has passed. There is no more waiting, no more questioning, no more standing at the threshold of destiny, wondering if you are ready. You were never meant to stay in the shadows of uncertainty, never meant to shrink beneath the weight of betrayal or fear. Everything you have endured has been preparation. Every tear, every rejection, every night spent questioning your purpose. It was never proof of your insignificance. It was proof of your calling. The universe has not been silent. It has been working, moving, aligning everything in your favor. But it cannot force you to step forward. That choice belongs to you alone. Look around at your life. Look at the trials you have overcome. The people who have walked away. The moments you thought you would not survive. Do you truly think it was all meaningless? Do you think the storms you endured were for nothing? Number. The fire was meant to refine you. The betrayal was meant to reveal the truth. The silence was never abandonment. It was a clearing, a preparation for the moment when you would finally understand who you are. And that moment is now. You stand at the precipice of something greater than you can imagine. The door is open. The path has been cleared. But you must have the courage to walk through it. You must understand that you are no longer waiting for permission to rise. You do not need validation from those who failed to see your worth. You do not need apologies from those who turned their backs on you. You are already worthy. You are already chosen. And now, the only thing left to do is step into it. But understand this. This victory is not just about you. Your rise is bigger than you. You are not the only one who has suffered, who has faced injustice, who has wondered if they were alone. There are others, countless others, who are still trapped in the darkness, who still believe that their struggles are proof that they are unworthy. And they are watching you. Your breakthrough is not just for you. It is a light for those who are still searching. Your rise is the proof they need, the evidence that no amount of betrayal, opposition, or silence can stop someone who is truly called. So do not shrink back. Do not let fear hold you down. This is not just about reclaiming what was stolen. This is about becoming who you were always meant to be. The ones who doubted you, who betrayed you, who stood in silence while you suffered. They will have no choice but to watch as you rise. They thought they had control over your destiny. They thought they had the power to determine your worth, but they never did. They thought their rejection would break you, but it only set you free. They thought their silence would erase you, but all it did was clear your path. And now they must witness what they never wanted to believe, that you were never meant to fail. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them pretend they never doubted you. It changes nothing. You are no longer bound by their opinions, their judgments, their betrayals. You are no longer who they left behind. You are stronger, wiser, untouchable. And now you rise, not in arrogance, but in certainty, not in vengeance, but in divine purpose, not in hesitation, but in the fullness of who you were always meant to be. So now, let us pray together. Heavenly Father, I thank you for this journey. I thank you for every trial, every challenge, every storm that has brought me to this moment. I may not have understood it at the time, but I now see that everything was working for my good. You have never abandoned me. You have never forsaken me. Even in the silence, you were preparing me. Even in the pain, you were shaping me. And now, Lord, I stand ready. I release the past. I release the fear. I release the need for validation from those who could never see my worth. I choose to walk boldly in the purpose you have set before me. I choose to rise into the fullness of who I am in you. Father, I pray for every person listening to this message. I pray for those who are still struggling, still doubting, still carrying the weight of betrayal and rejection. Remind them, Lord, that they are not alone, that their pain is not in vain, that they are chosen, that their time is coming, that they are stronger than they know. I pray for healing. I pray for restoration. I pray for the courage to step forward, to release the past, and to embrace the future you have prepared for them. May we all walk in the light of truth, knowing that no weapon formed against us will prosper, and that what was meant for our harm, you will turn for our good. In Jesus' name, amen. If this message spoke to you, if you feel the shift, the awakening, the undeniable call to rise, then let it be known. Declare it in the comments. I was never broken. I was always rising. Let the world see that the chosen ones cannot be silenced, that we do not fall, we rise. Make sure to like this video because every interaction pushes this truth further. The more of us who awaken, the harder it becomes to silence us. Subscribe and turn on notifications because this journey is not over. There is more to come, and you do not want to miss it. And share this message because there are others who need to hear this, who need to be reminded of their power, who need to know that they are not alone. The time is now. The battle has already been won. And now, all that is left to do is rise.